Hi, it's me, Vicki Marie. Now, this weekend I was going to do some analysis of Paul Ansell and Emma White's interviews, and I was going to talk about some things that just unsettle me about Paul and Emma. Now, and then I was ill over the weekend. I'm still not well. You can probably hear it in my voice. But I wanted to do this video because I promised that I was going to do it. And also I wanted to do it while it was in my mind and I was ready to do it. Now, first of all, I just want to say I am not any sort of body language expert, nor do I profess to be. I'm just giving my observations. Although I'm not a body language expert, I am an empath. I'm quite intuitive about things. And I've now finally learned to take notice of, if you're an empath too, or even if you're not, in our lives we quite often get instinctual, sort of intuitive feelings about things, good or bad, and we just explain them away, don't we? We rationalise them. We might get a bad feeling about somebody, or we might get a good feeling about somebody, and our rationale tells us otherwise, but we shouldn't rely on that. We should rely on our intuition, because our intuition is the most important thing. And what I've come to realise over the years is this is our survival mechanism. This is what dogs act on, what animals act on, their instincts. And, they can't rationalise whether they like someone or whether they don't. They just get that feeling. If you've got dogs or cats or any animal, you'll know. They know when people don't like them. Why are they sometimes aggressive towards some people or some other dogs or whatever, not towards others? They just know. And I think we have that ability to know when something's not quite right. Now, we might not know the reason, and I will explain when. I'm going to just do Emma first of all, look at Emma's interviews and things about Emma's behaviour that make me a bit unsettled. Now, the reasons, there are various reasons for it. So I'm not saying it's because she's murdered Nicola or had anything to do with any foul play that's happened to Nicola. I'm just going to, well, first of all, I'm going to look at the behaviours that I think are strange, and then I'm going to look at why I think they might be. And there's various reasons. As I said, this is purely entertainment analysis that you might find interesting. It's not designed to hurt anyone. It's not authoritative expert analysis. It's just my thoughts, my feelings, my opinions, and I do have a right to them. And if I do offend Emma, if she does end up watching this video and she finds it offensive, I'm very sorry. And if she would like to maybe say to me why she was feeling these things, I'm not a perfect person. I've done a lot of things wrong in my life, and sometimes you just can't help. Maybe she's just been overwhelmed with all the attention. But anyway, let's start and then you'll know what I'm talking about. So the first thing that always makes me, and I think a lot of other people, suspicious about Emma, or not suspicious, but uncomfortable with Emma, is the makeup. It's like, why do you're coming on to talk about your best friend supposedly disappearing and possibly committed suicide, and you've got the perfect makeup, eyeliner, everything. I know you want to look nice for the police, and I think I mentioned this in another video. You're sort of probably torn between that desire, so you don't want to be on the TV knowing that lots of people are going to see you looking like I look today. But having said that, you see, to me, I really don't care. I like to look nice, don't get me wrong. I love putting makeup on, I love doing my hair. I haven't done it this morning. because I don't feel well. I was going to, and then I just thought I just don't want to. But it really doesn't bother me. So I don't understand why when you're going on TV to talk about your friend disappearing and something as serious as that, you would feel that you had to put all that makeup on, because if for no other reason, it's going to end up all over your face, or it certainly would end up all over mine, because I would be crying. Well, Emma never cries. She never cries. There's one time I've just been watching, I'm not technically enough minded to know how to actually put on videos into my videos. Also, you can get copyright for that. But something that really intrigues me that I was just watching. Let's see if I can get.
On the morning, there's surreal as we dropped the kids off at school. Gave her a quick wave because going on our busy routines of the day. Because spoke to her the day before.
So you're in regular contact?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And speaking to other friends of hers, it seems that this is completely out of character to just disappear without saying anything to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we look at the routine she's done on the day. She's on a work call. She's quickly arranged a play date just 1 minute before. We're seeing it at the weekend. They've got plans for next. You know, it's all, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Today was obviously milestone, 7 days. We thought if somebody, for whatever reason, hasn't seen the media, let's get out on that road and spread that word, get Nikki's face out there, contact details. We had a big blowing man just to create attention. And actually I can say it has received an influx of calls to 101. The liaison officer with Paul has called him a short time ago, and they're looking into all the calls that they're receiving as we speak.
So you're saying that today, probably as a direct result of what you guys have been doing, the police are saying they've had more calls, more information?
Absolutely, and we have to thank you guys for you've helped that as obviously as mentoring as well. But it's sort of spurred us on again. It's given us that hope again inside that something's going to come. So we're feeling as if we can go again. Because I have to say today has been tough for everyone. 7 days and absolutely no clue how people could just vanish. It's still, I've mentioned before, it's this surreal experience of, a bit like Paul, I don't really know. As you said, you've got this feeling inside, and I can't explain it. But I have to say the hope was diminishing today. But after the news I've just heard, that torch of hope is sort of shining again and giving us just that glimmer of hope that somebody knows something, seen something, whatever it is. We just have to get Nikki home to those 2 little girls because they're now really missing her.
Now, I'm sorry, it's so false that so she went through all that interview there, and a short interview I know, but she didn't cry once, and then right at the end her voice was breaking like, she still didn't cry. There were no tears. I mean, I haven't seen her cry. I just think it's strange, but anyway. Other thing that I noticed in that short interview was this milestone work. So this was 7 days after Nicola had gone missing, and Emma describes it as a milestone. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, a milestone, if you pass a milestone, it's a positive connotation, isn't it? I'm going to just look it up while I'm talking to you. A milestone is not a word you would use under these circumstances. Surely a milestone is when you pass a milestone, like if I get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers, that's a milestone. It's a positive thing, not sort of I don't know, maybe I'm just being picky there. What do you think? Let's see what it says. Milestone meaning a significant stage or event in the development of something. Yeah, but it's a positive. The example that they give, the speech is being hailed as a milestone in race relations. You know, like probably the Martin Luther King speech was a milestone. To me, a milestone is positive, not negative. And of course, she was talking then about the 7-day milestone. You know, that Nicola had been missing 7 days. the other thing that she does a lot is she smirks a lot. I mean, and I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, because I just think maybe she's just loving the attention. Maybe she's not smirking because she's lying, or because, anything like that. Maybe it's just because she's loving the fact that the cameras are on her. I mean, it's quite sort of, I've been on the TV, the British TV. It's sort of compelling, it's like, I don't know. And I think more than me, what's been interesting is the reaction of other people when I was on the telly. It's like, oh, how exciting, People are excited to be on the telly. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's the reason she keeps smirking, just because, and she's got makeup on, etc., is just because she's happy to be on the telly. Maybe even subliminally. Maybe it's not even anything that she's aware of. Okay, the other thing is, like she said, we'd already planned this 7-day milestone. And I think, well, I don't know if I'd be doing that, because you're planning it, but there was no reason in those first 7 days to really think that Nicola wasn't coming back. I think obviously as it went on, time went on, it seemed less likely, unfortunately. Again, maybe I'm being harsh, but it feels like everything was planned. With this, maybe that's just her personality from what I can gather from other things I've seen about her. She's a very organised person. Maybe she has to be organised. I mean, she's a mum, she's got a business, etc. So I'm sure her life is very, very organised. So maybe that's the reason. What do you think? Let me know what you think. She just reminds me, Emma, of a sort of a cross between Maxine Carr from the Soham Murders, the girlfriend of Ian Huntley. Just the way she talks and all the detail that she puts into everything she says. I don't know, and the fact that she seems to be enjoying talking, I think that's it as well. Although, most people probably would quite like being on the telly. I don't think you'd really like to be on the telly talking about your best friend disappeared and possibly committed suicide. And so she's like a cross. And Diane Downs, if you've ever seen the story of Diane Downs who murdered her children, I mean, I'm sorry, that's two negative people I'm saying she reminds me of. But she really does sort of a cross between those two. It's a bit the way she looks, but also the way she talks. There's something wrong. And it's either that she knows something more's behind this whole situation, or that she's just loving it. Maybe she's always been jealous of Nicola, and now it's nice for her to get the attention and not Nicola. I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know them. My intuition is telling me this. Yeah, she uses the word roller coaster quite a lot as well. Now, I know you can have a roller coaster of emotions. It's like you're up and down, and I expect it is a bit like that. Maybe that's not something I should pick out. I expect you are. But when are you ever up there? Because there's no... a roller coaster, of course, is when you've got highs and lows. But I think really from the day that Nicola went missing, there are no highs. There's no... she talks a lot about hope in that particular interview. And I really feel that comes from when I go on in another video to talk about Paul, and you'll see an interview he did, where the interviewer had to remind him, well, you can always have hope. And suddenly now Emma is mentioning hope every 30 seconds, so it's almost as if they decided, or she's decided, I'm going to talk about hope, because Paul forgot to mention hope. The interviewer brought it up, and then it made Paul look a prat, to be honest, that he never mentioned hope. So maybe that's it. So suddenly hope is the key word. But apart from the fact that Peter Falding said that she wasn't in the river, and she seemed to take that as a positive thing, or, we're right up there now because she's not in the river. Is that a positive thing? I mean, where is she then? Because the alternative, she's not at home. So the alternative is she might have been abducted, and she might be being tortured, or, so there's not really a positive connotation. She's just not in the river. but there's no positive connotation there of where she might be, etc. And she also, like I'll go on to say when I do, but she never actually appeals to Nikki. Nobody looks at the camera and says, maybe the parents in that first, but I've only seen one interview with the parents. I think they're completely genuine. You could tell they were absolutely, blasted by the whole thing. I think with Emma and Paul, there's no direct, if it was my son, my partner, you direct saying, please come home. Because if you were thinking they might have run off or for whatever reason, because there's obviously more to this story than we know because of the welfare check that was done. There's some issue somewhere in this story that we don't actually know about. So you would say, please, Nikki, first of all, whoever's holding Nikki, let her go, please, and let her come home. Her daughters are missing her. And then Nikki, if you're watching this, if Nikki's just ran off with another man or just ran off to be on her own because she needs some time to herself, pleading with her to please just let us know you're okay. You're not in any trouble. If you don't feel like you can come back, please just let us know you're okay. Those kind of things. There's none of that. So there's immediately this assumption, I think, that she's not coming back before they even know that she's not coming back. Another strange thing. When Paul did his interview on Channel 5 with Dan Walker, he was in Emma's house when he did that interview. But when they showed their interview with Emma on the same programme, the same evening, they did it by Zoom, and she was in the same house. So I don't understand why. Was that to show a separation between them? Why, while Paul was actually speaking in that interview, he was often looking over to Emma. So, and fair enough, they're friends, why not? Maybe her husband was there as well. I don't know, because I don't know the ins and outs of that. But what just seemed strange to me was, why was Paul interviewed in her house, first of all? Well, then you think, all right, she's obviously got this nice big farmhouse and makes more comfortable for the camera crews, etc. I don't know. But then, why wasn't she just interviewed in the same, at the same time? Why was she then interviewed in the same house, but over Zoom? Like separate, as if it was like to separate them so they weren't seen as being together. A few things she says, which Paul does as well, I think. When they say things, they're shaking their head as they say them. So she says, when the interviewer says, oh, you've put everything on hold, she shakes her head. But says yes. When she speaks, she says yes. But she actually shakes her head. So I don't think she has put everything on hold. I don't think either of them put everything on hold. And they say they've been out. They weren't out looking all the time. They just weren't. I mean, in the end, nobody was looking down that river. If that was my partner, any relative friend of mine, even if it was my dog, I would be there day in, day out, walking up and down that river from dawn to dusk. I really would, and maybe even at night time as well, because she lives so close to the river. You'll be out with a torch. I just don't think I could rest. I certainly might come home for a little rest, go back out again. I wouldn't, nobody really was patrolling that river, were they? That's why when Jason, the medium, who a lot of people have, say bad things about, he found her, he was there. I heard someone on the internet the other day said, he's probably, he's got nothing else to do, he's probably walking up and down. Well, I don't know if he was walking up and down there day in, day out. I doubt it very much. But it was a Sunday, so obviously Sundays most people have got free, haven't they? So he just thought he would go up there, and he found her. Whether it's because he's a medium or whether anyone would have found her if they were walking up and down there on that particular day. But why weren't Paul, Emma, all the friends or whatever? I know they've got children, but there's more than one person that can look after their children. So I don't understand why that river was unattended. Or the police, why weren't the police still looking? Even though Peter Folding had said he didn't believe that they were in the river. Until she's found, it should be inexhaustible, really, constant, until her body is found. Or something is found. Yes, another thing, she says, and Paul says, describing Nicola as their rock, their pillar of strength. She's this, that and the other. She's what dreams are made of. Now, no offence, and I'm sure Nicola was a lovely person. Again, I didn't know her. I didn't have the good fortune to know. It seems to me like she was a nice person. But nobody is a saint. This eulogising over somebody, it's too much, especially when then later, now it wouldn't seem too bad, I think everyone was thinking, oh yeah, she seems like a lovely person, blah blah blah, she's a pillar of strength, she's the rock the rock of the family, etc. Both her and Paul say this. Then later it turns out that she's, according to Paul, I don't believe this, but according to Paul, she's a menopausal alcoholic who's had issues with mental health. So she's gone from being a pillar of strength and a rock to being a menopausal alcoholic with mental health problems. Well, she can't be both. She's either one or she's the other. I really, really was so angry. I'm still so angry when that was released about her personal circumstances, according to Paul. Nicola doesn't look at all on the photos. She looks healthy. She looks very clear skin, fresh face. Now, I know we don't know. Maybe she was an alcoholic. Maybe she was drunk that morning. Hopefully the autopsy, etc., will show, will poo-poo that, I think, but we've got to wait and see. But I was so angry because, if as they supposedly, because by then the body hadn't yet been found, she might be coming back at some point. Well, and I think, as I mentioned in my previous video, if you were out there, you'd disappeared just to clear your head or get some peace and quiet or have a think about things or gone off with another man or whatever you'd done, and you were watching that, and then suddenly it was acute, everyone was saying you were a menopausal alcoholic, you wouldn't be coming back then, would you? You'd be absolutely mortified that the whole nation and the whole world, because everybody's been interested in this case, thought you were a menopausal alcoholic, because that's what how your partner described you practically. I was still so angry about that, because even if she was, it was confidential information that should never have been shared. So yeah, she can't be a rock, a pillar of strength, and be a menopausal alcoholic. She can only be one or the other. So yeah, they weren't out there looking, in my eyes. Otherwise, they would have found Nicola on that Sunday morning. I mean, it was a Sunday morning. Where were they? Why weren't they out looking? And I'll tell you, that's another strange thing, because on the Friday before Nicola was found, Emma described an interview. We're going to do a last push. A last push. Go out onto the streets with the banners on the Friday, which was the day that Nicola went missing, and, try and jog people's memories, see if anybody would contact the police with information. But she described it as a last push. Now, Nicola hadn't been found then. Why is it last push? It's another push. it's another push, or one more push, or you know, a more a stronger push or something. But it's not the last push, because the following Friday surely they would have gone out and do it. Or weren't they going to do it again? They weren't going to do it again. We'd do it once more, then we can't be arsed doing it again after that. We'd do one last one, and then if she still doesn't turn up, well, you know, basically we're not doing it again. So strange. And then that was the Friday, and on the Sunday, who pops up, or what pops up? Poor Nicola's body floating around the river. So how did Emma know that it would be a last push? That's to me is a bit suspect. Just the thing about these things is, when you watch people being interviewed on any true crime program, and it just fascinates me. I love to watch the confessions. I love to watch the way the police draw out the information. If you sit in one of those, watch one of those interrogations from start to finish. I mean, the Russell Williams one is fantastic. You know, he starts off, he's got no idea that he's not going to be walking out of that interrogation room a free man. The game's up. He sits down, the interrogator is very, very good, ekes it out of him bit by bit, and you watch them sort of gradually disintegrate. Then you can watch other interviews where people do seem to say strange things, but it turns out they're completely innocent. I mean, it's a weird time. I know, your loved one's gone missing. As far as you know, they've gone missing. You don't know what's happened to them if you're innocent. But sometimes words come out and they don't come out right. I understand that. But when it's repeatedly, surely that, we all say the wrong thing sometimes. I know I would say the wrong thing because I'm quite good at that. But, if you're repeatedly saying strange things like a last push, she's a pillar of strength, no, she's a menopausal alcoholic, she's our rock, oh no, she was having mental health problems, constantly different things, not just one thing or even just two things, along with, your full makeup and your mascara and your eyeliner, etc., and your smirking, constant smirking. I mean, she smirks a lot, Emma. You see her smiling and the saying yes but shaking her head, which Paul does a lot. So when you put all that together, that's when it feels suspicious. It's not just the odd thing here and there, it's when you put everything together that it feels suspicious. So yeah, the Friday before Nicola's found, we're having a last push. How did she know that would be the last push? That's what I would want to know. And also one of those interviews, I can't put the interviews on because apart from not really knowing how to do it, you can get pulled up by YouTube for the what do they call it? I want to say conspiracy, but I've got conspiracy on the brain, for the copyright rules. So on other interviews, she said, she thanked the media. It's thanks to you guys that we've got all this information. She's there thanking the media. What happened as soon as Nicola's body was found? The family, which of course is Paul in my eyes, totally attacks the media, Sky News, ITV, the people that they've been working with, they've given their phone numbers to. Paul's phoned up one night drunk with a voice note saying he can't put his children to bed not knowing what's happened to Nicky. They're the ones that have been inviting this media coverage, suddenly completely turn on the media. And since then, it feels like there's been a complete media blackout. Now, I don't know whether that's because of the police or because of the family or because of what. I really do feel this thing's simmering under the surface and they're going to come out quite soon. I can't believe we've got to wait till June for the results of the autopsy. In other similar cases to this, bits of the coroner's reports tend to come out here and there, like the cause of death or time of death or this total silence surrounding Nicola's Nicola's death and any findings they might have had so far. Apparently, her body's been released. She's been buried. You know, apparently, again, you know, and people might say, oh, it's nothing to do with you. Well, it is something to do with us, because for 3 weeks, Nicola, we were bombarded by Nicola, not by Nicola, bless her, but by the media, Paul, Emma, everyone, invest in us in this case, invest in us in worrying about Nicola, till in the end you felt, or I certainly felt, like I knew Nicola myself, and I was on the watching every 5 minutes the news to see if there'd been any developments, had she been found, this tragic case. And then suddenly, oh right, that's it now, bumf, you can't even talk about it now, or you get arrested, like the poor guy from Curtis Media that everyone said was a ghoulish TikToker. He's not even a TikToker, he's a YouTuber, and, you know, I think he just got on people's nerves. That's what happened to him. You know, maybe a couple of things he did, he went a little bit too far, because he was videoing the police, and when they asked him, how you videoing, he said no. So yeah, he did do a couple of things that maybe were a bit much, but at the end of the day, that interest had been generated. You can't just turn it off like a tap. You can't just say to the public in one moment, oh yes, come on, we need your help. And I mean, I live in Spain, so I wouldn't have gone anyway, but some people did, probably people from closer. And thank God they did, because if Jason presumably she would have been found that day anyway by somebody else, who knows. But if Jason went that day and saw the body and phoned the police, and that's how the body was found. It's always the public that answer, you know, that solve these things, really. And it'll be the public that finally solves this case for different reasons, from the police, the inquiries. Police don't know. They can help it along, because they have to ask the right questions. I don't know if you know, if you live in Spain, you'd know this. You have to ask the right question to get the right answer, because people don't always just tell you everything, you know. And the result of this investigation, or if we ever get to find out what really happened to Nicola, might just come from a chance remark. You know, people just say things off the cuff that they don't even think are important, and if it's a clever police person, they'll think, oh, hang on a minute, that's a bit strange, that's not quite what such and such said. So the police have their part in analysing the information that they're given by the public, but it's the public that gives the information that solves the case normally. So, yeah, another thing that they say, one last thing that I just wanted to bring up about Paul and Emma and this particular thing. A word that comes up a lot is surreal. Surreal, it's so surreal. And you know, when you have any traumatic event in your life, it does feel surreal. It does feel weird. It does feel like it's not really happening to you. You know, if you have a bereavement, all of it feels like that. So I agree with that word. But the one thing that Paul said, which I suppose I should say for Paul really, but it's just that Emma says it a lot as well about the surreal thing, is he describes it as the Truman Show. When he's been interviewed by Dan, and he says, oh, have you ever seen the Truman Show? It's like the Truman Show. I just think I'm going to wake up any minute. Well, you know, if you've ever watched the Truman Show, the film, he wasn't dreaming, the guy in that Jim Carrey played. He wasn't dreaming, it was his real life. It's just that it was a life that was put together, and he was watched at every moment by the outside world. So to me, I think that's true. I think, you know, whatever happened, whether it was Nicola who took her own life, or whether she met with some foul play, or whether Paul was involved, or whether Emma was involved, it will feel like the whole world's watching you now, because it's captured the whole world's attention. So I don't think it's because he says, I think I'm going to wake up in a minute. Well, you're not going to wake up if it's the Truman Show. He never woke up. You know, it was his real life, even though it was a staged life. He didn't know it was staged. He didn't realise that everybody was watching him. But it wasn't a dream. It wasn't a dream that he could wake up from. So I thought it was a strange analogy, to be honest. But there you go. Who knows what analogy I would come out with in that sort of situation. So basically, these are the things that I've seen or felt and thought about Emma that were not right. Now for the reasons for them. Well, basically, it's either Emma was involved in some sort of foul play that was done to Nicola because she's having an affair with Paul or whatever. Or she's in love with Paul, so she's just really happy that Nicola's not there anymore because that's a barrier. Because she mentions Paul a lot, which I suppose I'm sort of torn with that one. She mentions his name a lot, and I suppose that's fair enough. You know, they are friends, and he is the partner of Nicola who's gone missing. So I'm sort of on the fence about that. But I just think when you really like someone, you talk about them a lot. I've done it, everybody does it. When you got a sneaking sort of fancy somebody, if you like, you do bring their name into the conversation any opportunity you can, because you want to talk about them because they're important to you, they're special. So I do think she brings Paul's name up a lot, but anyway, so it's either that. So it's either she has actually even been involved in it, or she's just happy that Nicola's not there anymore because that leaves Paul single, free, and she can maybe got a chance with him. Or the third reason is maybe she's just loving the media attention. Maybe it's not because of any of those things. Maybe she is genuinely sad that Nicola is no longer around. But on the plus side, she's enjoying all the media attention, getting dressed up for the camera, and she's quite eloquent, isn't she, when she speaks? That's part of her job. You watch the videos about Marsh Farm Hall, etc., about a wedding venue, anyone who's stayed there, they've always got positive things to say. That Emma is, very proactive, does as much for them as they can to make the wedding go well, etc. She's not, she's a smart cookie. She's clever, she's eloquent, she's attractive, she's all those things. And maybe she's just enjoying being on the TV. Now, having said that, that's been because now she's not on the TV anymore, It's like, boom, gone. Everybody's disappeared now. So what does that mean? Does that mean that it's just, Nicola's been found and she committed suicide and that's it, there's nothing more to say? Or are the police investigating more deeply? Are there things simmering under the surface that we don't know? There's probably a lot that we don't know, I think, but whether it's ever going to lead to a conviction or an arrest, I don't know. Oh, and of course, the very last thing, and I've probably said that before, but the GoFundMe. So within, I think, 1 or 2 days of Nicola going missing, Emma set up a GoFundMe page for Paul for £100,000. I mean, would you even think about that? How would that even occur to you? You've got to be so money-minded, haven't you, to... I can understand it more like the smaller one that was set up by another friend, but it's probably Emma as well, for, I think it was £20,000 for the funeral. Yeah, they needed the money for the funeral. Need the money but at that time, when the first one was set up for £100,000, we didn't even know. Nicola might have just walked back in the next day or whatever. They didn't need money to find Nicola. The police were looking for her, and then this guy, Peter Falding, he offered his services free of charge. So, just odd, isn't it? So, as I say, put all these on. One of these things in itself means nothing. You add all these odd things up, means something. There's something as I say, it could just be as simple as she's enjoying the attention. Could be that she's got a secret, carrying a torch for Paul. She mentions a torch somewhere along the line. Maybe she just quite fancies him, so she's quite happy being the centre of attention. Maybe Nicola was normally the centre of attention. She feels good that now she is. Or she had something to do with the disappearance and the murder, or the death, I should say, of Nicola. What do you think? Let me know what you think. I'll be back at some point, hopefully not so croaky and with my hair done and things like that I haven't done today, to talk about Paul and the things that seem strange that he said. And do you know, it's awful, isn't it? Because I'm one of those people, I take instant dislikes to people. I just can't help it. Now, I'm not always right, so I've got, I've met people and I thought, first of all, oh no, I don't like you, and blah, blah, blah. And then later on I have ended up liking them. Or I've discovered, if I get to know them better, I think that's probably because everybody's got good things about, I'm not perfect, I've got a lot of nice things about me, good things about me. I can be an absolute cow sometimes, I know that, especially when I'm hungry or tired. But, none of us are perfect. But, sometimes even just hearing someone's voice sometimes, which is something that happened to me with Madeleine McCann's father. I just heard his voice on the radio and I thought, something wrong with that guy. And, I hope whatever did happen to Nicola doesn't continue unsolved. Like the Madeleine McCann case has, I don't think that will ever be solved now unless the mother has some sort of, on her deathbed, has some sort of urge to confess. But anyway, this is what I mean. So I can just hear a voice sometimes, or sometimes even over the phone. I just don't want to meet someone, or I just get a feeling. I cannot explain it in any other way. But what I've learned over my long life is to listen to these feelings, and this is a feeling I get with Paul. His words, his eyes, it's the eyes, isn't it? You look into the eyes. Eyes are the windows to the soul. So we'll have a look at Paul. But anyway, okay, so thank you for watching, and remember, whatever you do, live and love very carefully and wisely. And until we meet again, may your God go with you. Thank you.